All right, what's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with my friend Otto. We just got back from the Collinsville Regional Championship, and Otto did awesome with this very unique metal deck, Solgaleo. Duskmane, not Solgaleo. I guess there is a Solgaleo in it. Duskmane, Necrozma, Garbodor deck, his own creation, super cool list, finished in the top 64. So I'm going to have him run through it real quick on PTCGO just to give you guys a taste of a different way to run Duskmane Necrozma. So Otto, tell us about the list, man.
Sure. So, I really wanted to play Necrozma. I know a lot of people were trying to play this deck. A lot of people were playing it with Magnezone because that's like the most simple way to play it. You put energies from your hand on Necrozma, power it up, you attack. The big problem was it's a little inconsistent. It's really hard to get the list going. We saw it, Collinsville Regionals, a lot of Magnezone lists didn't do very well.
Can also struggle against Garbodor decks.
Exactly. It has a really tough Garbodor matchup. And even Buzzwole Garbodor, that was the big deck that you played, Natalie played. It has a tough matchup against that. So I wanted to take a different approach to accelerate energy, similar to the Solgaleo deck that I played before, where you would attack, retreat into something that accelerates energy back, and then you would repeat that process over and over again.
So, let's talk about the card inclusions you had in here. Like you said, you finished with, a 6-1-2 record?
Yeah, I got 48th with 6-1-2 record.
Awesome. And what was your only loss of the day?
I lost to a Buzzrock deck, and I tied against a Gliscopod Zoroark and an Espeon Garb, both of which I probably would have won if I had a little bit more time going.
Awesome. So, a great run. 6-1-2 is an awesome record. Would have day two'd any other smaller regionals or internationals, so super cool to see such a unique list do so well. There actually were a number. I thought you guys were wild coming out with this list, but I had seen a couple other of these metal garb, Registeel, Solgaleo decks up there towards the top table. So it wasn't the only one I saw. This could be a cool sign of things to come for metal as an archetype. So let's go ahead. We're going to run through the cards list, have Otto tell us about each card inclusion and what it did to make the deck work.
Absolutely. So, starting off, big bad boy of the deck is your Duskmane Necrozma.
Here, I'll do the clicking. Yeah, all right. We got Duskmane Necrozma. All right. So Duskmane Necrozma, pretty much self-explanatory.
Sure.
Right?
I think Claw Slash his first attack does 60. It seems pretty bad. 3 energies, but I honestly used it a lot because if you can attach Elixir and then second turn attach, you can knock out a Zorua, a Zoropod with you can knock out a Wimpod with a Fighting Fury Belt.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not a terrible attack to go first, and then it sets up for the Sun's Eclipse GX and a Meteor Tempest if you attach one more energy.
Right.
Meteor Tempest is the attack that you would use most to clean up most of the attackers on your opponent's board. It does 220 with the belt that we play in the list. It hits 230. Hits about everything in the format. Buzzwole with Fighting Fury belt. It doesn't hit Decidueye or Solgaleos, but I really wasn't expecting to see them this weekend. So
it's reasonable enough.
And if in this chance you do not hit for over 230, you can Sun's Eclipse GX for 250 damage, which is a super powerful attack that you would only use if you have fewer prize cards than your opponent. So the way I would use this GX attack is I would play some of the other supporter Pokemon in this lineup, which is the next one we have is Registeel.
Right.
This is a basic Pokemon that lets you attach metal from the discard and does 30 to your opponent. Has 130 HP, so it can't be knocked out by Gliscopod's first impression. It can't be knocked out by Zoroark's Riotous Beating. It's pretty tanky and it survives pretty well.
Right.
This, along with Solgaleo Prism, I can set them up in the active position and set up as many Necrozmas as I want until my opponent takes a KO. And
Finally, when they take the KO, yeah.
When they take the KO, I can bring the Necrozma forward. I can Sun's Eclipse GX for 250.
250 damage.
With only 3 energies.
Which is insane.
And then after this, the next turn, I would attach just one more metal, discard 3 and do 220 and take 2 more prizes. And then the game plan would be to Guzma or retreat into Solgaleo Prism or Registeel and re-accelerate energy back across the board.
Right. So that's awesome. I actually played some games against you, and it was very easy for you to set up maybe 2 Duskmane on the bench with 2 energy each. And then if I take a knockout anywhere on your field, you attach the 3rd energy, knock out my main attacker. Next turn, take 2 more prizes, so it can really easily take its first 4 prizes.
Right. This deck was designed to have a decent Buzzwole matchup because they're definitely going to go for a Guzma absorption on one of your attackers because for them to knuckle impact you for the knockout, they would need 2 Strongs and a Choice Band when you have a Fighting Fury Belt attached.
Right.
So they have to go for an absorption. But if you can set up 2 Necrozmas with 2 fighting or metal energies on each one. If they take out a knockout on one of them, you can attach one Sun's Eclipse GX, and you set yourself really well for the rest of the game.
Awesome. So, see a Mewtwo in here as well. Popular tech for the weekend. Tell us a little bit about Mewtwo. Did you use it at all?
Right. I mean, I went 3-1 against Buzzwole decks
Awesome.
on Saturday, and Mewtwo was great because, like I said, to prompt Sun's Eclipse GX, you have to be down on prizes. So I'll set up a Mewtwo, bring an active, and just start swinging into the Buzzwole. And now, if they don't knock this out, this is a potent attacker against Buzzwole. Right. I mean, it's really good against Buzzwole, especially with the Fighting Fury belt. They have to knuckle impact
170 hit points.
Right. Like... I mean, I had opponents absorption this Mewtwo because they were so scared of it. But that immediately sets you up for the GX attack, and it puts you in a really good position in the game.
Right. Awesome. So you'd say the Mewtwo is worth it for sure.
Definitely one of my favorite techs.
And then you can see we're also playing a 2-2 Garbodor line. Now, your original list was playing a 2-2 Octillery. Right. Why the switch to Garbodor instead?
So we started with a Zoroark line because we wanted to put metals in the discard and then use the Solgaleo Prism to just put energies everywhere.
Right.
But we found that Zoroark was a GX attacker. It was going to be Guzmud for free easy prizes.
Right.
And then we switched to Octillery because it's a non-EX attacker, or non-EX or GX attacker. But we found that the draw power really wasn't that useful. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, Andrew was playing his Buzzgarb deck. And we played the same supporter line at his Buzzgarb deck because
very similar.
Super consistent. I mean,
right.
It's super consistent. And I realized that to win matchups like Vikabulu, to beat the Magnezone version of Necrozma, you want to be playing Garbodor to shut off abilities.
For sure.
And I'm sure Andrew can attest that N plus Garb plus Parallel is the best combo in the entire game right now.
It's really good. It's really good, especially if you're taking out Zoroark decks, just limiting their potency, and just the fact that this guy takes a little while to power up. Yeah. I mean, especially when you're not using Magnezone. So you want to be able to buy those extra turns, and when you shut off abilities with Garbodor and accelerate with something like Solgaleo, when your opponent's got Parallel City out, it can be a little stressful. I mean, you're just accelerating, like juicing your bench, and they don't have their abilities. Things can escalate pretty quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, Solgaleo Prism is like the MVP of this deck.
Oh, I mean, for sure.
This is like Nitro Tank GX, but you can use it over and over and over again.
Right.
I mean, if they have 6 Pokemon in play, including their active and 5 bench, you can put 6 energy cards from your discard pile to any of your Pokemon. You can set up 2 Necrozmas with 3 energy apiece.
Now, would you say, like, typically you go in and you start accelerating to Dusk mains with Max Elixir first and manual attachments, and then you maybe come in after your first one goes down with the Solgaleo Prism? Would that be, like, how things generally went?
That's generally the play style. Sometimes, I mean, you draw into a hand and you have a lot of metal energy, and you just want to Sycamore it all the way and just start accelerating. Because the good thing about Solgaleo Prism, 160 HP. You put a belt on there, it's 200 on a basic non-GX.
Right.
They're not going to attack into it, and if they do, you can just Sun's Eclipse GX them. So
exactly. Now, another unique inclusion here is the 2 copies of Energy Switch. Why the 2 copies of Energy Switch?
Well, one of the main things we found is that we were putting energy all across the board. It was really dangerous to put too much energy on one Pokemon, especially if it got Guzmud. So if you set up energy everywhere, you could still set up for a knockout without worrying about like your main attacker that has all the energy on it getting knocked out.
Right.
The other big thing was that Necrozma takes 4 energy to attack and it discards 3. So it's going to have that 1 energy left over.
Right.
So if you have a second Necrozma powered up and it's missing 1 energy, you can energy switch it to that Necrozma and take another attack for Meteor Tempest.
That's awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Now, obviously, we run 4 Max Elixir. I mean, it's pretty necessary for the deck to run.
Right. I really wanted a deck with a lot of energy, and 12 energy, I hit most of my Max Elixirs all the time. So.
Right. And you were saying there was actually a criticism you have of the Buzzwole variant that only runs 9 basic energy.
Right. In my testing, I just wouldn't hit him as often as I liked, and this was a lot easier for me to do it.
Exactly. Very cool. 2 Nest Ball. That's something I was playing in my list as well. How did you like it in here?
It's great. I mean, for decks that don't play Bridget, you have like this big attacker like Necrozma GX or a Prism that it's really hard to find, and you only want it in certain situations. You can Nest Ball for it. I think it's a great way to set up Trubbish as well because we don't play Octillery line, and we don't play the Brooklet Hill to be able to search things out easier. So
you need some extra search just to get the Pokemon you want when you want them, especially to go grab that Solgaleo Prism, to go grab that Mewtwo. And it's really nice to be able to get these things out and have some selective abilities with those, apart from Ultra Ball, for sure. You said you loved Parallel City in here. I love Parallel City in my deck, too.
I actually played the Parallel City because I didn't want to be paralleled myself.
Oh, so, yeah.
I mean, lots of decks are running 2 Parallel City.
Right.
I will admit it's a bit of a race to who can grab their first Parallel and put it down.
For sure.
But, I mean, it's a great combo with N and Garbotoxin. And not many people were playing Field Blower at this tournament, so it was very useful there.
And I feel like with a deck like this deck's designed very similar to the Buzzwole Garbodor deck that we played. You're not going for a turn 1 Bridget. So even decks that do run 2 Parallel City, you have a higher chance of getting yours first because you're going for a turn 1 Draw supporter.
Exactly.
Might even be going for a turn 1 Lily for 8.
Right. There's a lot of burnable cards in this deck, so you
are.
can go for a huge Lily, hit the Parallel, and it sets up well with the rest of the deck.
Now, you can see our supporter line here. This is the same supporter line that I played in the Buzzwole Garbodor deck. Natalie ended up finishing second with that list. Super cool supporter line. Cynthia coming in clutch here. Nice as a supplemental supporter, but also some interesting things like the one of Lily. How often did you end up using Lily at the tournament?
I think I used it a decent amount. Starting Necrozma or nest balling for Necrozma was pretty useful, and then you can Lily for all the other cards that you want to have in your hand.
You can also do things like maybe Lily into Energy, Sycamore them.
Right. That was really helpful as well.
Yeah. Sweet. So Lily, you would play it again?
Absolutely.
Now, 2 copies of N, a little low. I also played 2 copies of N, but what was your experience like with 2 copies of N?
Sometimes I wanted more, and sometimes I wanted less.
Right.
I mean, obviously this deck is aggressive; it takes a lot of prizes, and then when you're drawing into N as your draw supporter, you don't want to end yourself to 2.
No.
But sometimes you're on the back foot, and you really want to put your opponent down to a few cards so they just don't have the option to get that Guzma and knock you out.
Right.
And that's when I really liked N. So I think 2 is honestly pretty fine.
2 was fine, too. I have to agree that 2 seemed okay. I mean, obviously, like, maybe a third might be a luxury,
right.
It didn't make the cut.
I would say
at the end of the day.
Cynthia as much as you can your first few turns, and then save those ends for the late game because you will want them.
Right, no, for sure. 4 copies of Sycamore, still a must-have, even with Cynthia, just to get those cards in the discard pile.
Right, super useful.
Awesome. And just the most aggressive draw supporter in the game. Now, Fighting Fury Belt over Choice Band?
I mean, I really didn't need to hit 250 for this tournament.
No.
Fighting Fury Belt put Necrozma out of most decks' knockout range.
Right.
Even Tapu Bulu with the Choice Band can knock you out with Fighting Fury Belt on it. And it makes them have to set up a lot when they put their field blowers down. So if you have Parallel, you have Fighting Fury Belt, and you have a Floatstone attached to Garbotoxin, your opponent really has to decide what are they going to field blow. Are they going to field blow the Parallel and the Floatstone? Are they knocking off the Fighting Fury Belt and the Floatstone? I mean, no matter what, you're going to have something that kind of survives and keeps your Necrozma alive. So
for sure. No, I really like that. Fighting Fury Belt was really good for me all weekend. And then, of course, 4 copies of Floatstone combined with our 4 copies of Guzma makes the deck pretty mobile, would you say?
Right. I mean, we used to have Dawn Wings Necrozma in here. Obviously, with the Garbotoxin, that wouldn't work out that way. So we needed a way to switch, keep Pokemon going in and out. A lot of these guys have some pretty beefy retreat costs if you look at them.
Oh, yeah.
3. I think Registeel has 3.
Yeah, we're all some big old boys over
Solgaleo
here.
has 3.
3. Maybe Heavy Ball could have done something.
Maybe
here,
it would have been good, honestly.
I think Nest Ball just better than... Oh, because Heavy Ball could get your Garb. Heavy Ball can get
would
Garb.
have got the Garbs out.
Could have gotten the Garb, too. But then Heavy
Nest
Ball...
for Trubbish more than I actually...
Exactly. Heavy Ball can't get the Trubbish, though, and that's the big thing. So, anyways, how'd you feel about the deck's matchups? Is there anything that was really concerning as a matchup? Is there anything you felt good against? Just kind of wrap the deck up. Like, how do you see it going forward?
So, I mean, the reason I picked the deck is I figured Buzzwole was going to be a big contender in this format, and I wanted a good matchup against Buzzwole. I went 3-1 against Buzzwoles on Saturday, so I felt like the deck does have a good matchup against Buzzwole. And the one thing I was also worried about was Buzzwole's weakness to Psychic. I felt like a lot of people were teching Mewtwo's, Mew EX's, basic Mew from Face Collide to try and knock out those Buzzwoles for weakness.
Right.
And Necrozma, Registeel, and Solgaleo all resist Psychic.
Yep.
So Espeon Garb does almost no damage to you. Trashalanche does almost no damage to you. So I felt like matchups-wise, this is going to be useful. I also was predicting a little bit of Guardy would show up because of Tord's win.
Right.
And Metal does have a great matchup against Guardy. So overall, I think the deck has some amazing matchups. With Garbodor, you're cleaning up the Vikabulu and the Dusk main Magnezone matchup as well. The toughest matchups are easily Greninja and straight Volcanion.
Right.
I've beaten Ho-Oh in testing games, the Ho-Oh Kiawe, because you're just trading knockouts anyways.
Right.
But straight Volcanion and Greninja, definitely the worst matchups to face with this deck.
Awesome. Well, good stuff, Otto. Congrats on a top 64 finish.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking some time to show off the list for us. I'm sure people will be excited to give this thing a spin. So anyways, thank you for stopping by, and good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you for having me on.